The snow had been falling since dawn, wrapping the ranch in a silence so deep it felt like the world had stopped breathing, and that was how he found her, sitting on the frozen ground beside a crooked wooden fence, hands trembling, thin dress soaked through, bare feet red and cracked from the cold, staring at the sign that promised work but had given her nothing but false hope. Farmhand wanted. She had crossed oceans chasing those words, believing they meant warmth, food, dignity, but all they had given her was this moment of helplessness, alone in a land that did not speak her language. While the cowboy approached slowly, boots crunching in the snow, a man known across the territory for his wealth, his land, and his hard rules, a man who had turned away dozens before her without a second thought, yet something about the way she didn't beg, didn't cry out, didn't even look up at him, made him stop. He studied her face, pale with cold yet stubborn with quiet strength, and memories stirred of winters he had survived alone, of hunger, of nights when pride was the only thing that kept him standing. She expected rejection. She had learned to expect it. Every door since the port had closed the same way, but instead he asked a single question in a low voice, whether she could work. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. She nodded, not with hope, but with resolve, ready to endure whatever came next. He noticed the absence of shoes then, noticed how the snow burned her skin, and without thinking, he took off his coat and placed it over her shoulders, shocking both of them. The ranch hands watching from afar whispered, because this was not the man they knew. The cowboy turned back toward the house and motioned for her to follow, and though every step hurt, she rose, fear fighting with the fragile spark of survival. Days passed, then weeks, and she worked harder than anyone, cleaning, feeding animals, hauling water through snowstorms without complaint, enduring silent mockery, sleeping in the coldest room, never asking for more. And slowly the ranch changed, not because she spoke, but because she endured. The cowboy watched from a distance, noticing how the land responded to her presence, how order returned, how the animals calmed, how even the men worked quieter. And one night during a storm that rattled the windows, he found her mending torn gloves by candlelight, fingers raw, eyes focused, and something inside him shifted. He realized she had stayed not because she had nowhere else to go, but because she had chosen to stand her ground. And when spring finally came, melting the snow and revealing the earth beneath, he called her to the porch and handed her a new pair of shoes, real ones, sturdy and warm, telling her she was no longer a farmhand, but family. Tears fell then, not from pain, but from release, from being seen, from surviving. And as the ranch stood tall against the rising sun, those old words on the sign lost their meaning, because what had arrived that winter was not cheap labor, but a strength that changed a man who thought he had everything, and taught him what